Hi, everyone. This is Shannon Hargrove with the Career and Professional Development Team. And today we are completing our Career Academy series with our fifth session, How to Be a Standout Job Candidate. If you've been participating this semester, fall 2019, we had 4 earlier sessions throughout the semester, which you could have participated in person on one of our campuses or online through our website, career.mercy.edu. You still have time to be part of the series, so if you attend 3 or more of the 5 by watching online and completing the associated survey, you will be entered into a drawing for one of 2 iPads. If you attend 3 sessions or more, you'll also be awarded a professional development certificate. You can complete all of this up until next week on December 12th, and then the announcements will be made regarding your certificate and if you're a winner of the iPad um, as early as December 13th. So I welcome you today for Career Academy, How to Be a Standout Job Candidate, and we're going to get started. The labor market is competitive, and although I'm sure you are all wonderful and great candidates for the positions you'll be looking for, you must know that you're not the only one applying for a position. So we want to help you find out and figure out how to be a standout candidate and kind of position yourself outside of the crowd so that you are chosen for an interview and ultimately selected for a position. So we've compiled some tips from the career team and some employer feedback and other resources that we think are going to be helpful for you to consider as you go into your job search or career advancement and help position you as a standout job candidate. So the first tip is to acquire marketable skills. We know that regardless of industry or position, research has shown that employers are seeking these 8 attributes in their employees that they hire. And so I'm going to walk you through them. The first is critical thinking and problem solving. This is when you have the ability to exercise sound reasoning to analyze issues, make decisions, and overcome problems. You're able to interpret and use knowledge, facts, and data to process information and then come to some conclusions. So that's one area that is important in anybody's skill set, regardless of what industry or position you're working in. The second is oral and written communication. So this is the ability to articulate thoughts and ideas clearly and effectively in written and oral forms to people inside and outside of an organization. The person also has public speaking skills and is able to express their ideas to others, whether it's writing it or editing or speaking in a public forum. So that's oral and written communication. Then we have teamwork and collaboration. Building collaborative relationships with colleagues and customers and being able to represent diverse cultures, races, lifestyles, and viewpoints. This is the individual ability to work within a team structure so that you can negotiate and manage conflict. The great news is, as college students, I'm almost positive that you have experience working with teams and collaborating through group projects or clubs or other activities. So you can definitely call upon those experiences to demonstrate your ability to work within teams and to collaborate. Fourth, we have digital technology. This is the ability to leverage existing digital technologies ethically and efficiently to solve problems, complete tasks, and accomplish goals. And also the ability to demonstrate your current knowledge or ability to kind of take on or learn emerging technologies. We all know that there are different technologies associated with different fields and industries, and there's more and more coming into the marketplace almost daily. So the ability to navigate those tools and use them efficiently or pick up new tools is certainly important. The fifth marketable skill is leadership. This is the ability to leverage the strengths of others to achieve common goals and use interpersonal skills to coach and develop others. The individual is able to assess and manage his or her emotions and those of others. They use empathetic skills to guide and motivate and organize and prioritize and delegate their work. Again, as a college student and someone perhaps with work or volunteer experience, you may be able to call upon various experiences you've had in leadership that will be very helpful and helping you market yourself to employers. The number 6 item on acquiring marketable skills to be a standout job candidate, is professionalism and work ethic. This is the ability to demonstrate personal accountability and effective work habits. So that's punctuality, arriving on time, working productively with others, managing your time and your workload, and understanding the impact of nonverbal communication on your professional work image. So this is an ability to demonstrate integrity and ethical behavior and acting responsibly with the interests of the larger community in mind, and also is able to learn from his or her mistakes. Because we're all not perfect and we're learning as we are progressing in our careers, and so it's an ability to kind of take in feedback or observations about yourself or others' behaviors and to bring that to your workplace and to continue to grow professionally. Number 7 is career management. Career management is the ability to identify and articulate one's skills, strengths, knowledge, and experiences relevant to the position desired and career goals, and to identify areas necessary for professional growth. You, as an individual, are able to navigate and explore job options and understand and take the steps necessary to pursue opportunities and understand how to self-advocate for opportunities in the workplace. So this is really, employers want to bring on folks who have a vision for themselves, who have a 5-year plan, let's say, who are going to take on projects or training or opportunities that will help them leverage and grow. Because employers do want to hire people that they can keep with the company and grow with the company or organization. So that's where career management comes into place. And then lastly, the 8th marketable skill is the global intercultural fluency. And what that means is that you are able to demonstrate a value, respect, and an ability to learn from others who represent diverse cultures, races, ages, genders, sexual orientations, or religions. And you are furthermore demonstrating openness, inclusiveness, sensitivity, and an ability to work respectfully and interact respectfully with the people who have various backgrounds and vantage points. And again, that's a nice way to help support your ability to collaborate with other team members, and even in the way you might communicate to other team members or other stakeholders within an organization. So these are the 8 marketable skills that most employers are going to be looking for regardless of industry or position. And there was some research done that told us the top 4, if they were being ranked by employers, the top 4 that they value most are the critical thinking and problem solving, the teamwork and collaboration, the professionalism and work ethic, and followed by the oral and written communication. So next, the next standout job candidate is going to make a stellar first impression. So critical. Well, most often we are applying for positions through an online application system. So we're submitting resumes and cover letters and sometimes application forms. So we want to make a really great first impression on paper. And you need to know that recruiters and hiring managers spend approximately 7 seconds initially reviewing a resume. And that's not very long. What they're looking for is a way to kind of go through all the applications and decide who they're putting in the yes pile or the no pile. So that's why it's important to make sure that your resume is perfect, is tailored for the position, and your cover letter in the same way, so that they really are finding that they're getting the information they need in relation to the position you've applied for, and that you get put into that yes pile so that you're able to move forward in that process and hopefully get called for a screening interview or an in-person interview or whatever the next steps may be. So when you're preparing your resume and your other marketing materials, you want to make sure that you are succinctly showing your qualifications. So again, tailoring your resume and cover letter, and using vital information about your skills and work or volunteer experiences. So remember, you don't need to put everything on those documents, because you'll have an opportunity, we hope, when you're brought in to talk more about yourself, you'll have an opportunity to talk about those succinct points you've put on your resume later on in an interview. Furthermore, you might consider showcasing your accomplishments in a unique way to make this stellar first impression. For example, and if your industry supports it, you might consider an online or a physical portfolio. Sometimes we'll see this with artists or other creatives who are able to create a digital portfolio to show some of the work, something they've edited or written or designed, or a film, or things of that nature. So that's another way, or also websites. Sometimes you have a brand website that kind of showcases yourself and your different projects and skills and abilities and things like that. And so that's another way to showcase your accomplishments. LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile is another way. So often you'll see that applicants will include a link to their LinkedIn profile within their application or on their resume. And so that's a nice way to take the employer into your digital resume, where you can expand upon and add more information about yourself. And lastly, if you joined us earlier in Career Academy, Anatomy of a Killer Cover Letter, we talked about the T cover letter, which is a unique way to kind of lay out your skills and qualifications for a position. So that type of document, if it makes sense, might be another way to make the stellar first impression when you're presenting your marketing materials to those recruiters and hiring managers. Next, standout job candidates demonstrate professionalism in all that they do. So the process of, interviewing for position and of course starting your role goes on forever and ever. So we want to make sure that we are demonstrating professionalism all along the way. So a few tips to keep in mind: with email and phone correspondence, you'll want to make sure that you are signing your email signatures with your full, first and last name. And if you are associated with something, an organization or a group, perhaps that's in your signature as well. You'll want to use proper salutations. So, if you know who you're addressing, write to them, "Dear Mr. or Ms." Or if you're on a first name basis, but make sure you are addressing them in the appropriate way. If you're contacted by a recruiter, you want to make sure that you respond to them in a timely manner. So if they've left you a voicemail or an email, you should get back to them just as soon as possible. And lastly, your voicemail. You'll want to make sure that your voicemail indicates that they've reached you. Include your name in your voicemail, and make sure that you keep your voicemail box not full so that they can leave you messages. So these little things go a long way. Other ways to demonstrate professionalism in your networking or career fairs is to be prepared with an elevator pitch. And your elevator pitch, we've talked about it in different career academies, but is basically a 30 to 60-second narrative about yourself in the context of your professional goals, and sometimes tailored to the type of event you're at or the person you're speaking to. So that's really great to make sure you have prepared. And you also want to follow up by phone or email with your contact, or by LinkedIn, I should also add. That's another way to connect with folks after you've met them in a networking setting, and to be able to follow up and keep top of mind with them. So those are great tips to help you be professional when you're networking or attending career fairs. And then lastly, there's usually opportunities to send the thank you note or a follow-up note. And in the cases of interviews, it's expected that you write a thank you note within 24 hours and refer back to the interview in some way that makes the person who interviewed you remember the specific conversation you two had as opposed to a conversation they may have had with another candidate. And if you're in a networking situation, you also should follow up within 24 hours, but maybe 48, to recall the interaction, or if you had left some follow-up items when you had your conversation, to reiterate those or to respond back with your answers. But basically, the idea is to be timely in your communication to follow up or conclude, your conversation with those folks. Also, standout job candidates join professional associations. So there are a ton of professional associations out there for every industry or career community area. So if we can help you as career coaches to kind of identify some professional associations that might be of interest for you, we'd be happy to do that. Often there are student rates that you can pay to join the associations as opposed to full members. And the idea here is that active participation in a professional association can help you in an array of ways. The first being it can help you position yourself within your field. Often there are organizations that are just viewed as, high caliber, quality organizations that do a lot for their members and are recognized in the field. So I'll use an example of an organization I'm involved with, which is called SHRM. It's the Society for Human Resource Management. And I know that it is the #1 organization that folks know about when they're looking at people to be in the human resources field. So I'm a member of that organization, and I receive a lot of resources from the organization, but I also know it gives me credibility within the field of the human resources and the career development area. In addition, there are opportunities to get firsthand information on job openings. So again, it's a place to network with people who are in the field of interest and then are ultimately looking to this organization to potentially fill positions. There are often training opportunities, formal and informal, to develop skills further for those industries associated with that organization. And then there's often opportunities to connect to mentors or affinity groups. So mentors would be folks that are in the field who can give you some guidance on how to navigate your career or get more experience or potentially open doors for you and connect you with opportunities. And then affinity groups are nice ways to get involved in a way that is focused on something more specific. So within an organization, there might be a local chapter. So it's people in your area that you might be able to network with and learn from. Or the affinity group may have a focus, and that could be, working with youth or anything. I mean, the affinity groups go on and on. But the idea here is there's different ways that you can get involved once you join a professional association. Next, standout job candidates prepare for interviews. And the way they prepare, well, there are a few ways, but the first is research. So you want to be ready to take on your interview by being armed with industry information, company information, and to have the best understanding you possibly can about the position that you are interviewing for. So you want to do this research and think ahead of time about the organization and their values, their products or services, and how they relate to you. Why are you interested in this position in the organization in relation to what you can contribute to it and what they do or who they serve? You'll need to be able to articulate that. So some ways to start gathering this information are through websites like Glassdoor. There's LinkedIn, where often organizations have pages and profiles. There's Google News, where you can find out if there's some current information going on with an organization. You'll want to be kind of apprised if an organization is merging with another one, or if they've just been awarded some kind of prestigious award in their field. So kind of arming yourself with that information will help you to be prepared for interviews. In addition, you'll want to make sure you've planned a professional outfit, that you arrive early so that you know where you're going, you get there in time, you have some time to prepare yourself and kind of focus and get acclimated to your surroundings. And also, you'll also be ready to anticipate questions. And what we suggest is doing mock interviews with us or with our tool called Big Interview to help you feel prepared and anticipate those questions that you'll be asked on an interview. So I referred to Big Interview. We have a tool available to you all. You can access it at mercy.biginterview.com. And that's a place where you can literally select different types of interview questions based on industries or positions or just general questions. And then you can also record your answers within the tool. And then second to that, you can work with a career coach to do a mock interview, whether physically on one of our campuses or through a virtual Zoom session. And so these are all great ways to help you prepare for interviews. Okay, I have a few more tips to help you become a standout job candidate. And the next one is to exude confidence. So if you are prepared and ready and able to present your skills and attributes and clearly communicate your abilities to contribute to the employer and the team, you're going to exude confidence. And so I think the number one thing to keep in mind is that preparation through your research and practice through mock interviews and things like that are going to help you build and exude this type of confidence. Other areas that can help you is like kind of thinking through some of the what we would consider stressful questions, like being asked about your strengths for a role or your weaknesses within the context of the role. So practicing those types of conversations specifically and feeling confident in your answer is really going to go a long way when you're interviewing. Often you'll also be asked something to the effect of why you're interested in the position or the organization or where you see yourself in 5 years professionally. So I think anticipating that type of question and having an answer that is confident, but also within the context of truth and also the position you're applying for will help you also to exude that confidence. I think also with your physical appearance, if you have planned your outfit and it's comfortable and you know it looks professional and appropriate and you've just done that planning, I think all of that will help you to exude confidence when you are talking with folks for networking situations or in an interview setting. Next, we believe standout job candidates are prepared to ask questions. So there's often time where you're going to be asked if you have questions about a position. I'm sorry, let's go back. About a position or an organization and things like that. So you definitely want to prepare some questions, and they can be related to the organization, something in the news about the organization, something about their mission, um, or or anything that kind of pops up during the interview. But you definitely want to come in prepared with a one or two questions before well, at least two questions before you arrive. And of course, you may have those answered during your interview, so you need to kind of come up with some other questions while you're on the interview. But here's a tip. If you're ever stuck, one great one is to ask the employer that you're interviewing with about their own career path or their role in the organization and just show genuine interest. Because the interview is twofold. Yes, the employer wants to learn about you and your skills and how you might contribute to the organization, but you want to learn about the organization and the position and potentially your hiring manager as well. So to some extent, it is a dialogue, and you want to be prepared with some questions. Standout job candidates also have good references. So it's important to be able to prove that you can add value to the employer you're targeting. If you've had successes in the past, it's important to let them know. So we know on your resume you may be listing some accomplishments and outcomes, and that's wonderful. And the same is when you're talking about them in an interview. But what really puts proof to the pudding is to have references that are ready on your behalf to speak to those points. So often you'll be asked, if you're moving along in an application process, you might be asked about references. And that is like usually three folks that you've worked with, or a professor, or someone who supervised you or worked with you as a colleague, who can kind of speak to your work ethic or communication skills or time management or any of these things, just kind of has an idea of you as a professional person. So that reference sheet will list contacts that you've asked to be listed, and are kind of prepared to speak to you as a positive professional person. Okay, and lastly, standout job candidates keep everything positive. So sometimes you'll be asked to talk about or reflect on experiences you've had, maybe why you're leaving a position you currently have, or perhaps, again, talking about a weakness that you possess, um, or explaining a difficult situation you encountered, or anything like that. So what's really important is, although you're going to be talking factually about this situation, whatever it is, you want to remember to keep it positive. And that can be done by just reflecting on what you learned from the situation, or kind of concluding that experience with what the positive outcome of it was. So maybe an example is, if you were asked about a time where you had a kind of difficult collaborative experience. You were working on a team and something just didn't go the way you hoped it would. So perhaps you're telling a story about a class project where you were in a group of 4 students working together to make a presentation on a certain subject. And perhaps one of the team members didn't contribute equally, or did not do their part of the assignment at all. And if that was the case, what did you do? Instead, you don't want to harp on the fact that the person didn't do their work, but you want to focus on the fact that, I hope you were able to step in and complete the work and present it to the class, or present the paper, whatever it was, and that ultimately the assignment was completed, and that you maybe learned more about the subject at hand because you ended up taking on more. And so what that shows is you were able to, instead of harping on the negative piece, you were able to put a plan in action, get the work done, and have a positive outcome. And that's the kind of experience, or I guess approach to your work, that employers would like to see. So this can go, into other areas of your work experience, but the idea of keeping it positive is super important, because people want to work with positive people. So that concludes the tips on how to be a standout job candidate. Um, as we said, this is our final session of Career Academy for fall 2019. If you're joining us by recording or watching live, you'll want to make sure you complete the survey that goes along with this session, and because that will count for your attendance and put you in the drawing for our prizes and our professional development certificate to tally up your participation. So the quiz code is on the screen here. You're asked for that within the survey. So I'll leave this here for a moment. And lastly, I'll just remind you that the fall 2019 series is open until next Thursday, December 12th. You can access all of the videos and the surveys at our website, career.mercy.edu. The direct link is here on your screen. And then on December 13th, you'll be notified if you've been selected to win one of the 2 iPad Pros that we have to offer. And also, if you've received the professional development certificate by completing 3 sessions or more. And we'll be in touch with you regarding where you can pick it up, or if you want us to mail it to you. So thank you. I'm so glad you joined us today, and I hope that you've joined us for other sessions. This is Shannon Hargrove with Career and Professional Development Team, and we wish you a wonderful rest of the semester and hope to see you again soon.